All right, guys. I am just kicking this right off. It's lunchtime, noon. Um, I have with me today Tales from the Core. And these guys, it's my new favorite podcast because I've been probably driving back and forth an hour each morning and I listen to it. It's like just sitting around with a bunch of guys shooting the bull, and especially sitting in the barracks. Some of the tales that these guys tell, and some really good information as well, dealing with the VA, DAV, and things like that. And without further ado, I've got Mike Francis and I've got Neil Favre with us, and I did say that right.
Got
You
it.
nailed
Yep.
it.
Nailed it. Yep.
Nailed
I want to call you Brett. Brett, far. What did your DI call you in boot camp? Favor.
It's funny that you asked that because I happened to be standing next to a guy that we all look alike, but we just both happened to be wearing the portholes. So I actually didn't get a crazy name that started with an F. We shared names essentially. I don't know if I was dumb or dumber, but we had Dumb and Dumber. Yeah. I was like, cool. At least you didn't mess up my last name, you know.
Yeah. Well, Francis is easy. How about you, Francis? Do you have any good names in boot camp?
Yeah, I don't think you've
Right,
listened to that podcast yet. Yeah, well, that was one of the first ones, wasn't it? That I told the story where we were at receiving and we were getting issued all of our gear, and they're going alphabetically, and some guy is like, it's in the F's, right? And some guy, I can't understand what he's saying. And then finally, I'm like, "Sir, do you mean Francis, sir?" And he's like, "Get the up here." And so I go running up there, and he's like, "Your name's Trash Can if I tell you it is." So Trash Can fortunately didn't stick. And then when we got to the fleet, Frank was the one that came that kind of stuck. That's what a lot of the guys still call me, even
Frank.
Frank. Yeah.
Well, I listened to everybody on the podcast call you Francis.
Yeah, Francis, Frank. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Did
Nothing
anybody
cool, man.
pull a stripes on you and go, relax, Francis? Or
You know what? Yeah, no. That did not happen. That did
really?
not. Yeah, I know.
Because that dude was Francis, right?
Yep.
If
Francis.
any of you touch my shit, I'll kill you.
Yep.
If you look at me, I'll kill you. Lighten up, Francis. That was Francis. It. Lighten up.
Yep.
That's it.
That somehow never happened.
Oh my God! Well, we got to start that, right, Neil?
Yeah.
Hey, everybody out there, go to Tales from the Core and find all the Lighten Up Francis memes you can. Start posting them.
Just bombarding.
Yeah, hit them up, man. When all officers go through Quantico, and you guys have some great boot camp stories that I'll never have. OCS was geared to weed you out physically, because if you couldn't hang with the men, they wanted you as a leader to be up front, right, and be able to. So it seemed like the dumbest guys made it through, and the smartest guys, they couldn't make it. I was good physically, man. I ran cross country and wrestled and all that, but when I showed up, I was in CAP, Civil Air Patrol, in junior high and high school. So I had enough wits about me that when he goes, say your name in your most manly voice, the first guy, Anderson is from California, and he was this surfer dude with long blonde hair. Shows up with long blonde hair. His OSO really helped him out. So the guy goes, Anderson, and he goes, yo, yeah, here, man. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to die. And Staff Sergeant Jackson, huge dark green Marine, walks up to him. He doesn't yell at him. He just got his clipboard. He makes a little note, and he goes, Anderson, you and me, we're going to have a real good time. And he makes a little note, and then he goes, Barnett. And Barnett's prior enlisted, and he's standing next to me, and he's like, hey, platoon sergeant, Bell, hey, platoon sergeant. And then it goes down the line. Well, then they make you open your suitcase, right? And I hear you're standing at attention. You were talking about don't laugh, right? I'm standing there, and this guy about 3 down from me, Esposito, big linebacker from California, UC State. Half my platoon was from Ohio. The other half was from California. And I'm a local guy from D.C., So my mom dropped me off at DCA airport, and some nice corporal. Hi, are you here for OCS? Yeah, I am. Nicest guy in the world till we got on the bus, and he went Tasmanian devil on us. But so I'm kind of the outsider, and Esposito, this big football linebacker guy, they stuck big black dildos in his suitcase. They put girls' panties, all this stuff. And you hear the platoon sergeant, "Oh, sweet Jesus, what do we got here? Hey, you're a candidate pervert," And I mean, this guy could not win to lose. His buddies, every chance, they were sending him tubes with lollipops and Hershey Kisses, and it would be just like 10 of them. So when you flip the tube, you could hear the stuff rattling, and then open it up, and it'd be a picture of Tom Selleck sitting there with, a volleyball and his little shorts and bare chest. They would go, "I bet you beat the sergeant instructor in PT every day. You can kick his ass," and all these little quotes. Oh, that poor guy. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
That's memories from almost 40 years ago. It's crazy. It never changes either. And I know you guys have some pretty awesome stories. And as I delve into your podcast, I'm looking forward. You had a drill instructor on there because I could hear you referencing it, and I want to go back and listen to that because those guys, they're terrifying. But when they go home at night, normal guys. But when how they're able to turn that voice on, and that voice, it
So
scares the living crap out of you.
So with Sylvester, it's funny because I didn't know him on Paris Island. Now I think if Brad's still watching Hamlet, we got a couple guys like Leighton's here, Hamlet's here, Schwartz, Jerry. Hamlet had him in boot camp, so maybe he can answer this in the comments. But when Sylvester still has that voice, and he's from Rhode Island, and so him and I still talk, and he still has that voice, like he was born for it. And we were actually texting the other night, and he was talking with one of his buddies who's a sergeant major now, and they were discussing how much they've changed in the 20 years, like just how much they've kind of calmed and relaxed. And this all stemmed from, what was it, Sunday night, Neil, that Scotty texted us and said that he wants to experience boot camp.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. I said, challenge fucking accepted, buddy. Like, I let me wrangle up 3 of my guys here, 2 of them who are absolutely terrifying. Yeah. And, we can come down to my place. I've got the pool, so we can, do the swim qual week. And there's a place down here called the OK Corral where we can go shoot. We can put you through the whole damn 13 weeks, buddy.
Yeah, take them up to Asheville. That would be mountain motherfucker right there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure Scotty has 13 weeks off.
Right. Yeah.
Scott was going to go jump. And for those of you that don't know who we're talking about this great guy right here, Scott Gibson, who played Captain Haldane. That's me and Scott over in France. He played Captain Haldane on the Pacific. And he is just the most down-to-earth guy. And I listened to his podcast when you guys were talking. That's how I met him, was at RV's funeral. And he told it exactly right, because he comes up and says, "Hey, man, you did a great job. And I'm Scott Gibson." And I looked at him and I'm like, "Hey, man, did we serve together? You look so familiar." He gets that all the time. And one of my buddies did it to him at the airport, which was even funnier, because he's like, "Hey, man, do I know you? East Coast, West Coast? Were you in the war? What? How do I know you?" And Scott's like, "Oh, I'm an actor. I played a Marine on the series The Pacific. And yeah, I played Captain Haldane." And every Marine officer, I'll ask you this, circle back on who is your favorite enlisted Marine on screen. You know what I mean? Because as an officer, every officer is portrayed as a bumbling idiot. If you go all the way back to Heartbreak Ridge, think about that lieutenant. Hi, how are you? Yeah. No way, man. There's no way that dude would have made it through OCS. He would have gotten eaten up. And then Aliens we all went to go see Aliens in '86 when it came out. We were at OCS, and we had Saturday night off and we went to go see aliens. And that lieutenant, he played a real douchebag until the end, and he was all right. But it seems like all the officers always they portray. Some enlisted guy goes, "Yeah, let's make every officer look like a total douchebag."
That's what I was going
And
to say. Like before
Yeah.
Before Dale started, getting involved, right?
yeah,
It was just some enlisted guy, tech advisor, like, some guy just like Freddie Joe Farnsworth that was like, yeah, we're going to fuck with him.
yeah, we're gonna mess with all these officers, and that was the first time I ever saw an officer who portrayed it in a way that I go, wow. And I'll tell you this story. My mentor growing up was a guy named James A. Missioner. Does that ring a bell? So James A. Missioner was a writer. And what's funny is my missioner is from the Missioner family. They all grew up in Pennsylvania. And James A. Missioner, the writer, is like 6'2", big lanky guy. He wrote South Pacific and Centennial and Hawaii and all these books, right? So he's a very prolific writer. Well, my missioner is a little short, 5'8", stocky, looks like a bulldog. You scare the crap out of me as a kid at church. Hey, don't run! And you get that Marine voice going. Well, when I was commissioned, he shows up at my house with this big box, and he goes, "Hey, Mitch, my daughter doesn't want this stuff, and I want it to go to somebody who would take care of it. It's all my Marine stuff." And I'm like, "Mr. Missioner, I never knew you were in the Marines." It's like, "Yep, I was in the Marines, landed on Guadalcanal and Iwo Jima, and I got medically retired after Korea. So I became a school teacher." And he opens this box up, and I've got his 45, I've got his uniform, I've got his sword, I have correspondence with his fellow lieutenants who ended up becoming commandants later on and generals. Just all this really neat stuff. Well, then he tells me the story of when we got back from Iwo Jima, we went to Hawaii, and then we were going to regroup and we're going to train and we're going to do the invasion of Japan. While the guys were doing Okinawa, then we were going to come do Japan. Well, then everything was done. They'd never win, of course, but they tore this bar up in Hawaii, he and all of his Marines. And James Missioner, the cops come, the MPs come. He pulls his ID out and says, "Look, my name is James A. Missioner. You ever heard of that? I'm the writer. I'm famous. I'm rich. I got all the money in the world. Don't worry about it. Here's my address. Send me the bill. Are you good with that?" And the owner of the bar is like, "Yeah, I'm good with that." And so he leaves. The bar owner sends the bill to the real James A. Missioner, the writer. And he gets back from World War II and he gets this bill and he goes, "I've never been to this bar in Hawaii." And he crumples it up and throws it away. When he flies over to Hawaii to research his book, he gets off the airplane. They're doing the lays. And at the very end, it's Hawaii 5-0. And they cuff him and they take him into jail because he had a warrant out for his arrest from destroying the bar. And the bar owner comes down to the jail and goes, "No, that's not him. He was a little shorter dude. This guy's too big. He's a Marine named James A. Missioner." And Missioner's like, he knew exactly who it was. And so he's written up in his book, biography Missioner wrote, and it talks about his renegade relative who would go around and impersonate him. But my Missioner, gave me with the old breed. So I have the original signed correspondence with Sledge from Missioner in this book. And when he gave me the book, he says, "Mitch," because I just gotten commissioned second lieutenant. He goes, "Mitch, there is an officer in here named Captain Haldane, Andy, and I want you to be like him. Read this book and see how they talk about him. You want to be the officer that takes care of his men and his men respect him. You don't want to be the officer out there not leading from the front, first guy eating, fuck the troops. You don't want to be that guy." And so that's kind of cool that, years later I get to meet Scott, who played him. Anyway, big long story. Tall Tales with Taco meets Tales from the Corps.
Yeah, I tell you what, and Freddie Joe and Scotty's ears must have been ringing because they both jumped on during that story.
There it is. What's up, Devil Dog? Serio, Freddie Joe.
Yeah. Speaking of Devil Dogs, I mean, listen. I love my buddy Nick and supporting his company. but still waiting on that Devil Dog Inc. hat. You know,
Garcia.
yeah, still waiting on
Garcia.
that to happen.
Oh
Garcia.
man,
Garcia.
yeah, you guys got to go out to California, go hook up with him. He
We
brought me
did
one
go
of
to
those
Cali.
hats.
We went to LA. Freddie Joe was down doing some stuff in Australia, and then Garcia he went out there to help, like because we were going to meet up with
Yeah.
Garcia,
Right.
and yeah, he ended up going out to Australia to help him out with some things, but we did get to meet up with Josh Baton, who is just an incredible dude, really really solid guy.
Josh he just seems like a super cool guy. He got him on there. Garcia's running for mice. You know what? Freddie Joe, I'm glad I'm on your good side, man. Freddie Joe, I would hate to see him as a drill instructor as well. You would scare the living crap out of me, Freddie Joe. I love it.
Yeah, I said the next time, well, when we were talking to Scotty the other night, I said next time that they're doing something and there's a actor boot camp or something going on, I was like, I'll do it on my dime. I don't care. I'm going out there. I want to watch this, record it. And yeah, I mean, how that would actually be a pretty cool podcast also is to do something live from like that actor boot camp and get with the guys while they're going through it. Because everybody that we've spoken with after they did it.
Mm-hmm.
So to kind of get like, what are you thinking? Mid game halftime interviews after they just got done getting smoked by Freddie Joe and Garcia.
Yeah.
What's going through your head right now with accepting this role? I fucked up.
Go ahead and drop your pack. It's okay. They won't mind. They won't mind.
I want to do the actor boot camp for the Air Force. I want pizza. I'd like to have the weekend off.
Well, and that's something funny that I didn't really even know. It's so funny because we always talk about the different branches and the Air Force had this, they had that, and Scotty was talking about how much work. He's like, oh man, we had it so much worse than the guys in Band of Brothers. He's like, they had tents and beds, like we were sleeping in tents, and I was just like, dude, even in the actor world, right? That they've got these rivalries, Army, Marine, who had it worse, like during their filming. It penetrates everything in life, man. It penetrates.
I do have to say this. So the Band of Brother guys, that was cold and miserable, and that was hot and just miserable down in Australia. But I'll take cold and miserable because I can always get warmer. But I cannot deal with those frigging little spiders that they've got like 6 spiders that'll kill you, the huntsman and all those. And I'd be like, oh, fuck, mate. Kill. My cousin lives in Sydney and I'm down there and, it's just like, I'm looking at this spider crawling around. I'm like, I wonder if that's one of them that could kill me. I mean, just like bite you and you're dead. And then I get up and I'm having coffee. I'm the first one up. I walk out and backyards on the nature reserve. I see this big ass snake swimming in the pool and I'm walking down, I'm looking at it and my cousin comes out and is like, oi, Mitch, step back. That's a 2-stepper, mate. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, like if that snake were to bite you, you'd be dead. He comes out with the pool thing, scoops it up and flips it over the fence. I'm like, yeah, that would be a dead snake. You want me to send you a BB gun or something? He goes, oh no, mate, we're not allowed to have those in Australia. I'm like, commies.
Yeah,
Florida, Texas.
Florida is the Australia of the United States, no question.
Yeah, easily.
I mean, everything down here, seems to want to kill you or get into my pool. Like those are the two. They're trying to kill me or they're trying to get into the pool. One of the two.
You get alligators yet?
Alligators in your pool? I live like I'm looking out the back window right now, and we have a canal that runs between my property and the other people that have property behind us. And 5 years ago, August, we moved in here, and I've yet to see an alligator in that canal. They're in there. But they
somebody had a video on Facebook, and it showed this damn alligator swimming along. They were out the beach, and it was swimming in the surf. And I'm going, I mean, that thing was small. It was maybe 3 feet, 4 feet, but still, it's not like Australia. You got saltwater crocs and you got freshwater crocs. So
we have crocodiles here too.
Do you really?
Yeah. Yep. You go down. There's a pathway. It's the road. into Key Largo,
Right.
between Florida City and Key Largo. And when you're going across that area, there's signs that are crocodile crossing signs. So because down there you're in the salt water, you're in the brackish salt water where
Yeah.
so you come up a little bit north to the Everglades, and that's where you got your freshwater alligators. So yeah, we've got it all, man. We got
And
it
now you
all.
got boa constrictors and everything running around out there.
Yeah, unfortunately, they got those
Pythons.
pythons that that really really have a negative impact. I personally, like, I want to find some people. There's a ton of people where I live because I kind of live in a rural area, which is only 20 miles inland from the ocean, but it's kind of rural out here. I'd love to go on some of those python hunts, just because, not that I'm trying to like kill snakes, but you have to preserve the ecosystem down here.
Right.
But I want to go with dudes that like know what's up, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't mind grabbing one or whatever, but like I want to go with dudes that are skilled and experienced. I don't
I
want to
want
just
the
go out there
dude
by
on the
myself.
swamp. I want the dude on the swamp boat that has like, 3 teeth total,
Yeah.
drinks Milwaukee's Best hot, and and he's got a 45 on his hip. He's got he's got a rebel flag. That's the dude that I'm going with. That's the guy that's going to protect me.
Right.
That's
That's what you want,
my
man.
guide.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you know what? It's not even so much the snakes that you got to worry about. It's the damn alligators. If you're out there trenching around in the swamps, there's the alligators, and then we've got the coral snakes. I'm not worried about the pythons. It's
Yeah.
all the other shit, right? You got to have somebody watching your six when you go python hunting, or something's going to come up and snag you.
Yeah, anything that can eat a whole deer or an alligator, and they see it sitting there in the swamp from the helicopter, it's got a damn alligator inside of it. Yeah, that's
Mike,
yeah.
aren't iguanas another one? South Florida,
Yeah.
iguanas. They're the squirrel equivalent.
They're
Like here, there's squirrels everywhere here, and
so
it sounds like iguanas are the same way.
yeah. So
Down there.
they're unfortunately they're invasive.
Yeah.
Their meat pool's about $8 a pound. So if you get them, you can sell them
Oh
for about
wow.
$8 a
Dang.
pound. And yeah, I mean, dude, I've got pictures. They like to come up into the yard and eat the grass, and yeah,
That's what I want. I want to get that pellet rifle, high powered pellet rifle, and I watch the YouTube videos where the dude runs around with the high pellet. They just shoot him, pop, and hits him with a 22 round pellet.
yeah,
Yeah, and drops them out of the trees. Those things are huge.
they are.
Yeah.
They're big, man. They're
It's
big.
funny, man. It's funny. My ex-wife's cousins, he lives down there. He's actually about to move back down there, and he's like, man, it gets cold enough. They'll freeze, and they just fall from the trees. They fall out of the trees and just fall and sit there stuck. They're not dead. They're frozen.
Oh, so you just walk up to them and cap them?
You could probably winter time, I would guess, but probably the easiest way if you're looking to get the easy way out.
Yeah, we get a couple days, maybe like 1 or 2 days in winter, where it's got to be around that 40-degree mark.
Uh-huh.
And if they're up in the trees, and they stop moving, and then boop, they'll fall down on the ground, and you can just snag them up. And so I've yet to experience that. Also, anytime it gets that cold, I go patrol the property and walk around and try to find them. I've not found a frozen lizard yet, so that's still on my to-do list down here.
All right, when I buy my pellet rifle, I'm going to come down to your place. We're going to go hunting.
Yeah. No, the boys come over, man. We have regular get-togethers here at the house with some dudes I served with, and we set up a target range. We'll put cans out all over the place, and we'll run courses and shoot and
cool.
Barbecue, swim. It's and that's one of the things I preach to like a lot of these guys listening, man, is get around the guys, like get back with the fellas, have like a get together every once in a while, and it's so good for the soul to be back around the dudes that you went through the shit with.
And you just put a reunion on not too long ago.
So one of my guys, Stow, who was super close with one of my best friends from the Marine Corps. So back in 2020, he had learned from a guy about Semper Fi and America's Fun, the hat that Neil's wearing right there. And so he calls me up and says, hey, man, they do combat unit deployment reunions. Like they pay for it. They fly you, lodging, everything but the alcohol, right? And so he said that we have to have a host and a co-host. Would you be interested in co-hosting? I said, yeah. This was like January before the pandemic and everything went to shit. And so we didn't get to do that deployment or that reunion until last May. And anybody listening, I don't know, like the audience, I know our kind of audience, anybody listening that did this, it's worth looking into, because it was one of the most therapeutic, amazing times that we ever had. They flew us to Houston, and then once we got to Houston, they bussed us up to Artisan Lakes Resort in Cleveland, Texas. And you're there Friday, you have all day Saturday, and unfortunately, you got to leave kind of early Sunday because they got to get everybody home.
Yeah.
And then that was the 0506 Iraq deployment that Stow put on. And then A-Train, who was with Neil, they went on the 07 36 Lima deployment. They just did theirs like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was
the 21st to the 23rd. Yeah, just a week ago. Yeah.
Same place, Neil?
Same place. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Stow was at that one also, and I guess he talked to Beth Cooling, who's just like one of the most amazing women ever. She she organized, she does all the logistics. So imagine getting 70 to 80 dudes, planes booked from this whole, the buses, everything they do. I mean, the entire organization is just like straight up top notch. And so I'm out, and it's funny because yes, we're doing one for the 2004 Afghanistan deployment. And it was last Wednesday. I'm just hanging out in the pool, and I get an email around 6 p.m. or something like that from Beth. And she said, hey, I saw Stow, were you guys still wanting to do a 2004 reunion? And I had 2 guys talked into volunteering for it. And to their credit, one of them did like email Beth. But when she emailed me, she said, we have one date left. It's February 7th to the 9th. There's lots of inquiries. We're doing first come, first serve. So I'm in the pool, and my wife's like sitting out in the lanai. I said, go inside, get my laptop. I jump out of the pool and I sit down, and I'm just like banging out this letter, what's your unit name, blah, 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 doing all this stuff. And then like 5-10 minutes later, had it sent back to her, and she's like, so you guys want February? I said, hell yes, we want February. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. All the boys that were in Afghanistan will get back together. Everybody's excited. It's great, man. Like I said, for anybody listening, they can reach out to us. They can reach out to you. You can put them in touch with us. We can kind of tell you the steps in the process, but it's like this flag back here. They gave us all flags, and Saturday night, and we got to sign each other's flags.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Dope, man.
That's awesome. Fantastic.
Yeah. Then they got a guy, he was a first sergeant, Billy Squire, another amazing human being who we got to get on the podcast.
Mike, Sergeant Major.
Oh, you got it. Well,
Sergeant Major.
I guess maybe somebody knew him as a first sergeant, and that's why, because our captain had known him. Maybe he just knew him when he was a first sergeant. But yeah, Billy Squire, man, another incredible human, incredible Marine. He meets you at the airport, gets you on the bus, gives you your safety, your limo brief, right? And then the funniest, some of the best pictures. I mean, we're both sober now for a year and 10 months, and
that's cool.
But one of the funniest pictures that comes out of the reunion is the bottom of the bus, because it's a tour bus. You swing by Walmart, and just everybody beelines it back to the beer aisle. And then whenever they come out, just the bottom of that thing, there's more beer. There's more beer under that bus than there is people's luggage.
Dude, it's crazy you're saying this. I was just thinking about that last night, how hilarious it was, because I beat the bus there, this reunion. Me and Forrester, we drove in together, and I remember I thought we were gonna be like last ones, because I told Billy, I was like, maybe 5:30ish we might get there, but there was only like maybe 5 or 6 other guys that were there before us. So I was like, oh, cool. We get to see the guys come in. And it's just like you did, just like you're describing, Mike. And I was just thinking about that last night, how hilarious it was, man. The visual, and I had to record. I got the video. I actually took it. I had to record it because I knew it was going to happen. But they get out and they all bang that right to the undercarriage, the where all the luggage is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's I didn't see any bags pass. I saw a lot of cases of beer just from left to right, man. It was like top to bottom. I was like, oh yeah, that's
Okay. Well, here's the
there's
question.
the luggage. There's
Was
the
there
luggage.
any beer left? Was there any beer left when they came home, or did they actually drink it all?
Not in my group.
Holy crap!
I think there may have been a little bit left over. But what was it? You guys? Was it you guys who left like the $400 for us to use? Like it was like pay it forward or some kind of thing. There was
I'm just sure.
yeah.
We'll take credit for that.
Maybe it was you guys. I don't know, but they had like there was $400, I guess, just left on the tab at the bar or something that they said for the next unit that comes in, which happened to be us.
Wow!
And so these, I guess they did have some beer left over. They kind of went all out the first night, which was hilarious. The next day, seeing the zombies walking around, but they kind of paid it forward with the leftover beer. I don't know, man. Is it going to last that long, or who cares? It's beer, right? Marines and beer,
Right?
so.
Cold and free. Who cares?
Good point. Yeah, they did have a bar there and that's how I know
it was 3-3.
That's how I know that we ran out of beer because we had to go and drink the beer that you had to buy from the bar there.
Yeah.
So thank God they had that.
Well, let's go back. 2000. When did you guys join?
I went in February 23rd of 03.
03. And how about you, Neil?
November of 05. Actually, I stepped on the footprints the day before the Marine Corps birthday.
So November 05, 03. And did you guys both serve together in Iraq at the same time?
No.
You're 2 years off.
We got back from Iraq March of 2006, and they came to 3-6.
It was like June. Yeah, June of 06.
So there was this period of time that was we got back. Of course, we're just hammering it out, drinking, getting wasted the entire time.
No.
Especially the short timers that knew we weren't going on the 07 deployment. And
Right.
If we're here telling funny stories, you want a funny story. I don't think I've told this. I've not told this one on the podcast yet. So what happened was when we got back, there was a change of command. We were all like, we want out of this unit, man. Like and then all the new guys came and they were having to sleep on the floor because we didn't have enough room in the barracks. And so a couple of us NCOs were like, okay, well, let's just go try to get BAH. Let's get some off-base housing. It was Hunter, Stanker, and I. We found a trailer out in like Richlands, North Carolina. That was like $300 a month. And we're like, guys, if we get this $300 a month trailer, we can save a lot of money until we EAS.
And make some money.
Yeah. And then we'll be kind of set and give ourselves a nest egg. We're trying to be like financially responsible Marines. We probably would have spent it all on alcohol, but we were trying to think of good things.
Oh, God.
So we went through all the hoops, jumped through them all. And then finally they're like, no, we're not going to give you guys BH. The way that the Marine Corps configures it is by total rooms available on Lejeune. So I don't know if you'd ever been to Lejeune, and I don't know how like the other bases are structured, but we lived in Hadnot Point, like the HP 465 barracks. And it's like, okay, so if there's not room here, but there's room over in the French Creek area, that does us no good. Like our Marines can't go live there.
Right.
It didn't make any sense. So then we're just getting more upset. So then we wanted to FAP out. And then that got denied. They're like, nope, we're not letting you guys go anywhere. We're not letting you guys do anything. You're just going to have to suffer. So the commandant comes to visit Camp Lejeune. And, the field house up from L Street.
Yeah.
So he's in the field house, and like one of our Marines, Weitzel, who's not here with us anymore, we're sitting there, and he said, Frank, I'm going to ask the commandant about BAH and getting fapped out. And I'm thinking, that is the worst idea ever. And
Yeah.
I was like, you should definitely do that. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the commandant gives his speech, and then he opens up for questions. And like the first question was this guy we all served with, Sergeant Shank, just like, hardcore dude, right? He stands up. He's like, sir, we just got back from Iraq. I want to go back over there. Like they're trying to keep me for the next deployment. Like, can't I do one and then just come back and go on that one? Like, this dude just wanted to live over there.
Yeah.
Like, he was hardcore motivated, right? And I don't remember what the commandant said, because I'm sitting here like waiting for, is this dude actually going to stand up and ask this question? So after Shank's moto hardcore war, question, Weitzel stands up. And he's like, sir, the Marines, we tried to get BAH and they denied it. And then we tried to get FAP'd out and we got denied that also. And I just remember the commandant saying, well, Devil Dog, that's quite below my pay grade, but I'm fairly confident your senior NCOs or staff NCOs are going to talk with you as soon as this is over. And that's exactly what happened. It was a gunny who came over and was acting first sergeant, called all the NCOs down, and pretty much told us that we were a disgrace to the Marine Corps.
Was this Hagee? Was this General Hagee?
That's who we had in 06, right?
Yeah, up to like November of 06.
Yeah.
Hagee.
Yep. And yeah, we got lit up. And honestly, it was like the way that dude talked to us. Like, I had done 3 deployments, a couple of the other dudes had done 3, some of them had done, like all of them had done 2. And the way that gunny talked to us, I'm just like, this is why I'm getting out. Like, this is fucking insane. Like, this dude's sitting here. I have more combat deployments than him. And he's sitting out here telling us we're a disgrace to the Marine Corps and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, get out of 3-6. I don't ever want to see any of you all ever again. And we were like, deal, dude. That's what we wanted anyways. So, like, we won.
So what happened? Did you end up getting FAP somewhere?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, the one guy, like, he was a lifeguard at Onslow Beach. That was his job. For the most part, everybody got pretty cool gigs.
Yeah,
and
you're the NBC guy, Francis. Lighten up, Francis. You're going to NBC. You're down there. You're going to run all those lieutenants through the NBC course.
Right. So yeah, that's our fun commandant story, man. And because I know a lot of the guys like Neil and Schwartz, like, they didn't know really what happened to us. And so I told Schwartz, I think I told you the story, like, on a phone call, but for all the other guys that are like, what happened to our NCOs? They just poof. Like,
you dudes are like the guys that went up against Colonel Sink there in Bands of Brothers and like, we will not go serve with this guy. And then, you're out of there.
Yeah, dude. And you wanted. Listen, I'm not going to say anything about your guys' command because I don't know them. It looked like you all loved them. Looked like they did a good job. But, dude, like, Pitchford was and he still is, Colonel Pitchford over in Germany. Lieutenant Colonel Carey, who's still in, he was our platoon commander. Strong, man. I went on 2 deployments with him. Yeah, he was gunning at that point. I did not want to serve under anybody else. Yeah. Like, we had the fucking dream team. We had Michael Jordan, and like, we had the dream team. And that's why that 05-06 deployment was so good, because the leadership was just, you talked about being like Haldane, that's Pitchford. Yeah. And yeah, these new guys come in and you're like, who are you, dude? Like, who are you, Captain?
Yeah.
The whole, like, my boots got more time in country than you do in the Marine Corps.
Looking back on it, you and I, we went over there at the same time. We left in August of 05, right after Katrina hit.
Yeah.
The day Katrina hit was the day we flew out. I don't know. Maybe we're on the same. We took Continental. Did you fly over on Continental?
Oh, the airline?
Yeah.
Man.
We flew direct Continental to Germany, to Kuwait, and then Kuwait into Al Asad.
Yep.
And then Al Asad down to TQ.
Yeah, you went to TQ. We were up in Al Qaim Husayba on the Syrian border.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you just said something that reminds me. I've been wanting to ask you this for a while, because you were like a KC-130 pilot, right?
Yeah, I was the air boss. So I worked at the airfield. Everything related to, let's just say you got wounded. If you were out there and your team got hit, we would launch the helicopters to go pull you out and bring you back to the hospital. So we had level +3 at TQ, Fallujah, Baghdad, Abu Ghraib had a hospital, but not as great. And then, of course, up Balad and Al Assad. So we had the level +3 hospital. So anyone who got wounded on MSR Michigan or something, IED blew up, then we would launch the helicopters. You'd either come back to my base, and then we get you stabilized. Then we get you on a helicopter up to Balad, then Balad onto a C-17. Now, if you did the burns, we got you to Lambstool, then to Frankfurt, and then down to BAMC and San Antonio. So, yeah, Scott said, yeah, I think he flew. I was a out of work C-130 pilot because I'm a reservist.
Okay.
And when you're a reserve officer, you can fail any BIC, 75, 99, whatever they call it, any officer. And so I'm looking through the playlist and I'm going, battle captain. Ooh, that sounds cool. That's on my short list. Assistant battle captain. You got to be an 05 to 06 to be the battle captain. Oh, I'll be the assistant battle captain. That sounds cool. And then I'm going through and it's like air boss. Ooh, air boss sounds cool. I know what they do on the aircraft carrier. So I wrote that down. And then I'm emailing back and forth with the guy, the manpower dude. And he goes, hey, I got a great job for you. You go to Tampa, you'll be the midnight watch officer. You'll be on the beach every day and you're doing, and I'm like, I wrote this email back, which is what got me in trouble because I wrote this email back and I said, hey, look, jackass, I'm volunteering for this. I don't want a purple hat job. I don't want to be on a beach in Tampa. I want to be with Marines in Iraq. I don't want my grandkids to say, what did you do during the Great War, Daddy? Well, I shoveled shit in Louisiana. No, I served with Patton. You know what I mean? I want to be with Marines in Iraq. And I got up to go take a piss, and my wife came in to grab stamps out of my drawer. And there's the email sitting right up there. And she's reading it. And I just told her I got involuntarily recalled. and so when she read that thing, man, we had a little come to Jesus. And yeah, she was upset. But it all worked out. But it was interesting, when you talk about your PTS and my PTS is totally like watching all you guys come back wounded and the Army guys. The hospital's right next to my control tower, so I'd have to go down there and get eyeballs on how many wounded we actually had, and pulling guys out of Humvees, out of the ambulance, and we're bringing them off the helicopters, and floors covered in blood and all that stuff. I saw the end result of what you guys went through. So for an older guy like me, I don't know what it did up here thinking about, that could be my son, this 18-year-old kid. And it was just kind of weird, but that was my job. So you were going to ask me something about Iraq?
Well, I was going to ask about the 130s. So I feel like anytime we flew C-130s, it was Air Force pilots. And they flew like shit, man. And so we were told that it was intentional to, the banking and the up and down and all this stuff. So I wanted to see if we can clear up a rumor. Was it just the Air Force trying to fuck with Marines and make us airsick, or were you actually supposed to fly those planes like that over in combat to evade? I don't know, because the C-130 can get shot down with an AK. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
The bongo trucks.
Right. Yeah. They're going to throw rocks. We just lost another C-130.
Well, the C-130 is a great airplane, right? And I never flew it in combat. So to answer your question, I only got to ride on them and have fun. And then my past knowledge of what we used to do to the Lejeune Marines, we pack them all in there and they would go jump out or whatever. Yeah, when you're sitting in there, you would crank it really hot. When we were flying, we would crank it hot, and guys are just sweating their ass off. And then you crank it really cold. Now they're freezing because they got all the sweat on them. You crank it hot, and then you kind of do this, and you could make it kind of bumpy. Now, I don't think that they would do that intentionally. I think they were yanking and banking because, let's face it, Air Force guys, we had the burn pit right off the end of the airfield. And so when the 130s would take off the Air Force guys, all the Marine 130s from Balad or from Al Assad, they would turn their raw gear off. And when the Air Force guys would take off, they'd start shooting their damn flares out because the gear was picking up the heat signature from the burn pit, and it was launching all the stuff. And they'd freak out and doing all these countermeasures and all this stuff. And it got to the point where we put NOTAMs out, and it's like, hey, you idiot, don't friggin' take off with your gear on. Because I got a phone call from Kuwait, where they're in combat, right? The Air Force guys. And hey, this is Major so and so calling from Kuwait. Oh, hey, Major Bell, how's it going? Oh, good. Hey, listen, one of our guys got shot at the other day. We're putting him in for air medal, blah blah blah. I'm like, what do you mean he got shot at? Yeah, he took off from your base and he took a Sam 7. No, he didn't. Yeah, he did. I go, look, man. Yeah, have you been to Al Taqaddum? No. I said, it's huge. You ever been to Cherry Point? No. I said, it's like Cherry Point. It's giant. I go, the fucking Hajis would have to be inside the wire and right next to the runway to shoot a Sam 7 at your airplane. What that idiot did, and I remember this now, your idiot took off. He flew over, and as he banked, his raw gear picked up the burn pit. He launched the damn flares, and he burned down the tent, a bunch of tents over there where the Army guys are. So, as a matter of fact, I need that officer's name. And he goes,
Right.
wait, what? I go, because at the general's briefing, the Army guys want to know who burned down their tents because the damn flares came right out and hit their tents and set them on fire. So can I have that? And they click. I'm like, shit, what was that guy's name again? I couldn't remember his name. I told my boss, I'm like, hey, I found out who launched those flares. He was trying to get himself a damn air medal for it, or Distinguished Flying Cross or something, save the airplane. So to answer your question, Marines probably would not do that intentionally, but Air Force, yeah, they might because they're scared.
Yeah, yeah. We're taking fire. It's a burn pit. It's fire. It's not combat fire. Can you imagine the stories those guys tell? Yeah, we took combat fire when we were taking off. It was just a burn pit, man. That's
it was a burn pit. Yeah, because that's pretty intense heat, all that shit that goes in there.
Oh yeah.
But Michael Musselman, flew commercial airlines. Must be nice. I flew C-17 to Iraq in 2005, straight there. You got screwed, dude. Second mall, we flew Continental Airlines charter flight, baby.
So I'll say this. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Afghanistan 04 deployment. The flight home was what's like the biggest one? Is that like it was either a 17 or a 5? Is one of those two. C5. And let me say this, man. Once we reached altitude or whatever, right? Like a lot of us just laid on the floor.
Yeah.
Right. Because the seats were along the hole, right? The fuselage, whatever the hell you call it. And so once we were where we needed to be, we just got out of our seats and laid down, man, sprawled out. Those commercial flights, that wasn't fun.
No, you're stuck in coach.
Yeah, we're sitting back there. Exactly. How long does it take to get over there? Like 17 hours or something stupid like that. Yeah, dude, give me
your weapon systems too. We took them on board. It was, we had a
we had our rifles and our pistols. So the flight tents loved it because we give them a rifle and take all these pictures with flight tents.
Yeah. That was like the meal and the flight attendants. Those were like the only good things. But you know what, man? I'd rather be comfortable for 17 hours. So give me like the military birds any day, like where I can sprawl out.
Yeah. You know what's funny was we got to Kuwait and my wife's like, what's it like? So August of 05, I said, honey, go into the garage. It's August of, in Texas. I said, go into the garage and pull the dryer vent off the wall. Stick it in your face, put it on full hot, stick it in your face, and then take talcum powder and throw it in your face. I said, that's what it feels like. You're sweating instantly, and you just got this fine powder stuck, trying to stick to your face. You just feel nasty.
Yeah.
I go, that was Kuwait. And then Iraq, when we landed at Al Assad, we were in a C-17. We had a friggin' 18-wheeler right in the middle of us, and we're all lined up on the seats like you're talking about, sitting there. We got our backpacks, we got all our crap, and we get off. And I remember they started this 18-wheeler because they got to build up I guess the brake pressure, the air, for the brakes, pressure for the brakes. And so this thing's running, the door's closed, and I'm starting to get a little lightheaded. I'm going, this is not good. I think they're going to choke us out.
This is how I die. Like,
This is how I die, in the back of a C-17 with a 18-wheeler sitting there. And they open up the ramp and door, the ramp and the tail there, and they get us off. Well, that heat, as soon as that heat hit, I think it was 140 on the flight deck, and we get off the airplane, and that wave, I just remember the instant sweat, the noise, right? I didn't have earplugs in, and the noise from the jets, because it was an offload, engine running offload. And we're running off, and in the distance, it's the haze of the heat. In the distance, I see this guy giving us the double pump, and he's just doing this. And you got everything, and you're kind of shuffling. You know what I mean? You're not running, you're shuffling. And out of the corner of my eye, I see a flash. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I look, and then I could see the explosion. And then I felt the compression wave from the 122 when it hit. And the 8 122 rockets greeted us. So that was like, okay, I'm shuffling a little faster now. I'm shuffling a little faster. Oh my God, that was like welcome to Iraq, fellas.
Dude, I know when we got to AA, it's interesting. Maybe we got there a little bit before you, because they had not received any indirect fire or anything like that for a while. And
Al-Assad?
Yeah, and then we're there, and that might have been when you guys were landing, because I remember like indirect fire. And 7 months later, whenever we're heading out, they hadn't received like any indirect fire. 3.6s back, and then rockets start coming in. At this point, man, we're so burnt out and just ready to be home. And plus, where we were at, we got that stuff all the time. So, just it's like none of us cared anymore. But it was so funny when you're there, because we're talking about it like in a Facebook group or something, where the people who were stationed at the fobs and never left or anything, when you get indirect fire, like they run for cover.
Yeah.
And the phone banks cleared up. Like, we ran to the phones. These people are like running for cover. And we're like, oh shit, the phones are all going to be open. So we're running, they're running that way. They're like, where are you going? Everybody's off the phones. That's where we're going. We got to put in beer orders, man. We're flying home. Like, we got things to do, logistical needs that we got to take care of.
It's so true. It's so true. The very first couple times you get indirect fire, or the rockets would come in, somebody asked me, what's the scariest thing that ever happened to you? I'm like, dying on a shitter. That was it. We had 6 shitters, porta potties right outside my tower. My tower's 100 and, I don't know, 50 feet up in the air. And I didn't feel like walking down all these steps to go take a piss. So I had a big jug in my room. I lived in the bathroom, and it was an old Iraqi bathroom. They'd torn everything out, and I had a rack. So I'd just go in my room in the corner like a cat and piss in my jug. And then every morning go down there, dump it, wash it out, and then take it back up. But I'm sitting there one day, and you go in there, and the art of, drop trowel, take a dump. It's 100. I mean, what is it? 150 degrees inside this plastic, encased thing with the flies, And so you're sitting there with your paper that you brought with you, and you're smacking flies, trying to kill them all. You're sweating like a whore on dollar night in the Philippines, and you're just whacking flies. And I'm sitting there whack, and you hear the other guys too. They're like whack, 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 and they're not beating off or anything. They were like whacking flies. And then it's like, what a horrible time to go take a dump. At like 12 o'clock, lunch, right before lunch or after lunch. Well, then the rocket comes in, and you could hear that son of a bitch coming over. And when it whistled over and it hit on the other side of the HESCO, in between where I was. We had the big HESCOs, and then we had the flight line, and it hit over by the flight line. So when that thing exploded, the concussion rocked the shitters. I mean, it was like boom, and then the shitter started bouncing for a
Mm.
second, and all I could think of was your husband died on the shitter. His body's recovered. He got shrapnel in the heart, and he's covered in blue juice. I'm like thinking, just please, the Mort guys, just clean all that shit off me. But that was the closest I ever think I came to dying in Iraq was a rocket. Now the cool thing was because I was the air boss, I would jump in my SUV and I would go run up and down because I had to make sure the taxiways and the runways weren't affected by any of the shells,
Yeah.
rockets. So while everybody's hunkered down for an hour, I'm out running around, driving around, picking up shrapnel and stuff like that, bringing it back, trading it with people. They're like, "Yeah, man, I got a big chunk of shrapnel here. Take that." And we'd have shrapnel up on our. We had a little cigar bar on top of my control tower. You know, yeah, you got to have fun. You got to have fun somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that gets lost. Man, who was I talking to? We were talking about how dark the Pacific was
Yeah,
compared to, maybe it was us when we were talking the
yeah, it
other
was.
day.
You were talking. You were talking with Scott.
Yeah,
Talking about if they'd filmed the Pacific first, the band would have to be darker. Band of
right.
Brothers would have been darker.
I think like the majority of people that watch that, it's so difficult to realize, why we do the things that we do. And it's like, man, you just, it was somebody that it was probably all of the people that Tracy interviewed for her documentaries. Who's like they all in unison, like you have to lose your humanity. Like you kind of
Mm.
can't be a human to be over there to survive. And um yeah, so I mean the weird things, right? The war trophies, the gifts, like things that almost blow you up. Like, and people don't really they don't get that. And that's fine. Like we don't expect I'm not one of those veterans, which I can't kind of stand the veterans that, we were public servants, right? And we're like some of those badass public servants that ever lived. But the dudes that act like they're so much better than everybody else in society because, oh, like I went to Iraq, or oh, I did this, and like those guys, they just their little soapboxes and get up there thinking that they're somebody special. Oh, I swear, man, if I ever fucking see a sign that says "Don't shoot your fireworks off because I'm a veteran," I'm gonna rip that fucking thing up. Like, and then I'm gonna
What are
bring
they,
mortars over to your house and I'm gonna shoot them off all night long. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what? I consider myself Pogue City, so we're back there in the rear with the gear, and I never left the fob unless I was in a helicopter. They wouldn't let us take any ground transportation. Michigan was, I mean, that time in '05, you guys were getting IED'd so bad. Um,
yeah,
just what they were trying to do to counter that with the UAVs up and down, the sniper teams that they were putting out there and just dropping dudes. You stopped if you it was like General Mills said was like if you stop your car and you're digging a hole, you're dead.
yeah,
And when we got to start taking all these guys out, and to sit back in an air conditioned office with I've got the sipper and the nipper, and I've got the classified drone footage, and I'm watching. I mean, we'd watch operations going on daily because that was part of it. Somebody got wounded, something happened. We kind of on top of it, and then something else I did was I got all these cigars from cigar shops. Would a Cigar USA or something like that? People would have military night, and they would put cigars in a military. Buy one, then they would buy another one, and then they would mail them out. Well, if you signed up, well, I was sending props off the UAVs. I'd go over there, and they didn't run up to speed, so I'd go, "Hey, man, you got any of these old props?" Yeah. So I get the props. I would mail them back to the cigar shop, have everybody sign the prop. So you talk about getting some treatment. So I walk around to all the units and I'm giving away cigars. We had an open policy. If you came up to the control tower, especially at night, in the daytime, what would be maybe 130 on the ground and it might be 110 up top because you had the shade, we had the camo netting, and you had the breeze. So it was really pleasant up there. It felt really good. When anybody come up there and smoke a cigar, I don't care if you're a PFC and some
that's
unit, you
awesome.
found out about our place, come up and have a cigar. Open
Yeah,
policy. Well, I flew around to all the medical bases and I made a deal with all the docs there. and I gave them all cigars. And I said, look, when you guys get somebody who gets wounded, I need you to call me and feed me the 9 line. And then Al Assad's the battle captain's gonna approve it. But at least I can get the helicopter spun up and get them going towards your direction. So it just cuts off that much time, right? Until one day this colonel calls me up and goes, Major Bell, yes, sir. Hey, I'm looking at your report. You got the 9 line, say 09. The helicopter launched at 0901. Patient was picked up at 0905 and returned to base at 0908. How can that be? Because I looked on the map and that was 15 clicks from you. I'm like, I don't know, sir. He had tailwind both ways. And then this guy got pissed and he's like, hey, if I find out you're launching unauthorized aircraft without my approval, I will have your ass. And I'm like, you know what, sir? If I remember right, I think they were doing an FCF on that aircraft that day, and they were able to peel off and go on that one particular mission you're talking about. But let me hypothetically ask you this. If your son is PFC Smuckatelli and he gets blown up and he's laying in that shit street, blown up, legs sideways, his buddy's got a tourniquet on him, are you telling me that if I can cut down on a couple of the minutes for the golden hour, you wouldn't be appreciative that I got your son back to the base that much faster, to the hospital? And he's like, yeah, but you blah, blah. And I go, all right, sir, I get you. You're usurping your power. I get it. But let me ask you this. Have you ever denied a medevac pickup? Since I've been here, I've been here 5 months. Have you denied a medevac pickup? Well, no, that's still not the point. I go, have you denied a medevac pickup, sir? No. Okay. Then I will never do that again. So every time I did it, I would have to fudge my numbers and make it like, receive the 9 line 09, helicopter launched at 907, patient picked up at 925. It's all paperwork drill. But you know what? In the bottom of my heart, if that was you or Neil hanging out down there, you want that helicopter to pick your ass up quick, don't you?
Yeah, that's another thing. Those guys that you get that the power, the authority. Yeah, man. I mean that's
But
a
no,
whole.
I get it. I get it. If there's something that I don't know about from the bigger picture, but from my office and my perch, I'm hawking the UAV feed or the Predator feed. I'm looking at the sipper and everybody that's talking in the little closed chats. So kind of you've been around for a while. You kind of get a feel for stuff. It's hit and run. They're not going to attack you again. But it could have happened, and I really would have been in trouble. But I just felt it was my duty to try to take care of these young guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's God. I mean, well, why wouldn't you? Like
Who knows?
Who would
how
have
many,
a problem with that?
Yeah, and who knows how many limbs and lives you probably saved.
Yeah, no idea. But you know what? I'll go with God, and if I did something wrong, I did something wrong. The Marine Corps wants to come back and try to pull my retirement, but it was good.
Yeah. I know, man. That's the interesting thing about you, man. Like you're a pretty unique guy because, I've talked to lots of people that have concerns. Like we'd like to have them on the podcast, but they have concerns. And I'm like, well, listen, like the way we run our podcast is, hey, there's a reason we don't do ours live. And it's because we want to make sure that if a name is said, if whatever, which Neil and I aren't going to do that. So that's why we're fine with doing this live with you. But, if a name gets said or something gets said, that we can always edit it, delete it, remove it before we put ours on, Spotify, Apple, all those places. But yeah, like a lot of the guys, I actually didn't know until we started doing the podcast that all of you guys that retire are still can be like held under the UCMJ.
I'm sure they could. I'm sure they could. They could try.
Will they? Probably not. But could they technically? And that's why I think that you don't see. That's why you see a lot of more guys like us, and not guys that retired who were officers, senior enlisted, doing these things.
Yeah.
Unless they really don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come get me.
Yeah. Yeah. Come get me, man. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll call up, General Berger. Hey, sir, do me a favor. Can you help me out?
Right.
Berger was my OSO. That's the only claim to fame I have. Berger signed me up to join the Marine Corps when he was Captain David Berger, knuckle dragger infantry guy. And he didn't even know. He was like standing there in college, and he's looking up, and he's like, all these airplane pictures, and he's reading them. He's like, that's an A4, and that's an F4, and that's a Harrier, and oh, that's a 46. I've been in the back of that, and that's a CH-53. Yeah, I've flown in one of those. He didn't know jack, and I'm like, sure, I'm a history major. Don't you guys want a hard math background like the Navy geeks? And he goes, nah. If you can pass that air test, that's all we care about. I don't care if you have underwater basket weaving. You know what? We just you need a degree, and that's it.
Yep.
And so that's how I signed up. And could pass the PFT, could pass the endurance course, and there we go. Pass the eye test. Yeah, yeah. No, it was a good time, man. So let me hear. When somebody asks a story, the funny part is you don't remember the bad stuff, but you do remember the funny stuff. And it's funny to you and me. A civilian may not understand, but what is the funniest? What's your funniest vignette that and sometimes you have to be in a group of guys to have something jar the memory. But when you think back on that deployment, what was some of the funnier escapades that you had? Do you remember anything? Anything come to mind? Fucking with somebody? I don't know about you enlisted guys teabagging each other and stuff.
Dude, did you listen to that podcast?
I did. And I
crazy.
remember at Quantico, I had to go sit in the goddamn base theater and watch some video. And it was the video, and these Marines were in, so I don't know where the hell they were. And the guy goes up, and the dude's sleeping on the cot, and he pulls his pants down and teabags this guy, sticks his balls in his mouth while he's snoring. And I'm going, what the fudge? What new game is this? I'm not privy to shaving my balls and sticking them in some dude's mouth. I don't know what joy they get out of that. But I'm like, what has happened to the Marine Corps? I don't know.
So that was probably the video from 3-6. Because the guys from last Tuesday, Eunice and Lewis, we were on a phone call last night talking about some stuff, and obviously these things have already been public, and he said, but there was a guy, and it's funny because he even told the story almost funnier last night because he's like, yeah, man, this guy, we'll leave his name out, like had one of those like 1995 like Michael J. Fox Back to the Future video cameras, and that was India Company 3-6, and they all these things that they did to this dude, and that's why NCIS got involved, and they came and they were interviewing people, and like dudes got in trouble, like all sorts of, like 3-6 back then was like the Jackass Battalion made the headquarters of the Marine Corps Times with the skull and crossbones, and 3-6 was quite the place. And then we showed up, and we had no idea what was going to happen to us. Those guys, man. Now that shit, they didn't participate in that, and I, when they tell me that they didn't, I have no reason. Like they would tell me if they did, right? I have no reason not to believe them. But I think it's hilarious that it was 3-6. And that was probably the videotape. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the videotape that you had. How hilarious is that? Like,
no, it was horrible. We're all in the theater. We're like, we got to sit here for 8 hours for a stand down on sexual assault. Don't teabag your Marines. I've never heard this term, teabag. I don't know what they're talking about. And then all of a sudden, after the video and stuff, I'm going, that's actually something I would never in a million years, not even back in the fraternity days when we would fuck with the drunk guys. That's not something I would even think about, teabagging somebody. That is some hardcore peach sweaty balls,
That's crazy, man.
Oh, man.
I got a couple stories. You got anything that was pretty funny that stands out?
Neil?
Nothing. I don't. I wish I could say that we had a good old fashioned teabagging story, man. But we I don't remember I don't remember any, but we did have a guy who liked to get naked and jump into other dudes' racks. And then when they would come in the room, he would always wait for them to leave or whatever, and they come back in the building area, and they'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you in my rack under the poncho and the liner and everything?" And like, man, get out of my rack, dude. And pull the cover off. Dude's just laying there, butt ass naked. He's like, "No, man, no, get out of my rack, get out of my rack." That was funny, man. The naked shenanigans, I guess. But there wasn't any teabagging. Damn it, you know. But now that was pretty funny. We had a guy that he looked a little bit older than his age, and you know, the jokes that go on. Once your guys, you know, especially within your squad, once they latch onto a joke,
Yeah.
it sticks with that particular that Marine for forever, right?
Right.
And we had this guy. He looks a little. I guess we all did at that time, looking a little weathered, but he kind of, you know, took it to the next level, and he was, I guess, dehydrated and just miserable, and he was laid up in his rack, and he had, you know, the sleeping bag, everything, whole sleeping system pulled over his head, and everything was hanging out except for his foot. And one of the guys, he grabbed it was like the tags that they gave you for your bags, the sea bags that, you know, you marked up, you know, you're going to this place, that place, or whatever, your name and everything. He grabbed one and like cinched down the little how you cinch down the little metal little prongs or whatever to keep it on there. He takes it and puts it on his toe, and he waits for me to get out of the rack, and he goes, "Father." He's acting like he's crying, and he's pointing. He goes, "He's gone. He's gone. He finally passed." And I'm like, "Oh," and the guy can hear the thing, but he's so miserable. He's like, "Fuck you," and you can see his mouth. "Fuck you, dude." And you know how miserable you are when you're dehydrated, and you know, it's like a hangover. But last thing he was wanting was you know, those kinds of jokes slung his way. But it was funny.
Is that looking like this?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Looking a little dehydrated there.
Yeah. I you know, thankfully, you know, the camis caught a lot of the sweat. You're gonna lose the sweat, but at least it'll get caught. You know,
they soaked it up so you could catch that fucking 140-degree breeze blowing on you.
Yeah.
Smell better the next day. No, you know.
Oh man.
The funny stuff that I did was, I mean, it was the things that happened were my Lance Corporal. We call, you know, and I'm still friends with him. He's such a great kid. He's a truck driver now, but we called him Leghound. And Leghound, you know, like I'd call and I would set all this stuff up, and then I would tell Leghound, "Hey man, we found this Russian engine out in the junkyard, and I want to go ahead and take the first stage off and get the blades out of it. So I need you to go over to Mal's and go get me a left-handed metric crescent wrench and bring it back." And he was like, "Oh, okay, who do I go see, sir?" And I'm like, "Go see Gunny Morales. He's over there. Go get with Gunny." And then he'd go Gunny, and Gunny would send him over to the HML LA guys, and then they would send him to the HMM guys, and then they would send him over to the 8th Engineers. So this kid would drive all over TQ looking for a left-handed metric crescent wrench, and he comes back. He's 18 years old, and he's like, "Sir, I failed." "What? You didn't get me the wrench?" "No, sir. I nobody had one." I'm like, "Oh, that's because, you know, we're American. I didn't think about that. Yeah, we don't have that Russian stuff." All right. Well, good job anyway. You know, and that kept him out of the office and got him going. NCIS, I would see those two guys in the briefs with the general, and one day, the doctors had the most incredible porn stash, a box of porn. They had a female doctor that was going to launch an investigation against them or something they were afraid of. So one of the doctors brings me this box of porn. I mean, we're talking, this is stuff that nobody should ever see. And I'm like, "You're sick bastards." I'm looking through this. Hey, this is a pretty good one. But they said, "Hey, could you hold on to this for us? You're the only guy I know that has his own room with a lock on it. You know, you can lock. Would you hold on to us for about a week, and then when it blows over, we'll come back and get it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I stick it under the rack and put a poncho over it, and I've got 2 bunk beds, 2 racks, and underneath it's got all this crap. One night, knock on the door, and I open it up. It's the 2 NCIS agents. Major Bell. And I go, yeah, sir, can we come in? I go, well, let's just go up to my office up here and we can go talk up there. He goes, sir, we need to talk to you. It's about pornography. And I'm like, you motherfuckers. I'm thinking all of a sudden, I'm going to get caught with their box of porn and violate General Order number 1. I'm get kicked out of Iraq. How'd you get kicked out of Iraq as a reservist? I had this big box of porn, right? Violation of General Order number 1. And I'm like, well, let's go to the office. No, we need to talk to you in your room. And I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, sure, come in. And so they take. I've got 2 little. What do you call those little seats that you get in OCS boot camp? Little stools. So I got 2 camp stools, and the dudes park themselves on the camp stool, and the one guy is sitting on the camp stool, and he's leaning against the rack, and he puts his elbow up on the box of porn that's got a poncho cover it, and he's leaning up against it. And I'm looking at him, I'm looking at that, and I'm trying to look away. And I said, okay, so what is the issue with pornography? And he goes, do you have a Lance Corporal Leghound work for you? And I'm like, yeah, he's upstairs in the office on duty right now. And he goes, sir, he has figured out how to bypass the filters. He and this Lance Corporal network have figured out how to bypass the filters, and he's downloaded over 1,000 pictures of pornography on his government issue computer. And I'm like, yeah, that's not good. I remember that class. And he goes, yeah, well, the problem is one of the pictures was child porn. Ooh, God. And he goes, yeah, it's 5 years for every picture on a government computer. So, all right, let's go up and go see him. So we'll go up and go see him, and they confiscate the computer, which killed me because it had all of our PPRs on it and all the work. So I'm like, can he at least download everything that he's done? Make sure it's downloaded to the net. And yeah. So they did that. Well, they took the computer and they took him. As soon as they left, and I heard, the car start up, and I looked out the window and saw him driving off to NCIS. I picked up the phone. I called the doctor that I knew, and I said, you come get your happy ass box of porn out of my room right now. Well, no, we just need another. I said, I don't give a shit. I don't care where it goes. But if you're not here in 45 minutes, I'm loading that thing up in the back of my SUV. I'm going to the burn pit, and I am chuck it in the burn pit. And he's like, oh, no, dude, you can't do that. The other guys will kill me. I said, well, you got 45 minutes. Get your happy ass over here. And they did. They came and picked it up. And I don't know where they went with it. But all I could think of was, I'm the guy that's going to get in trouble, Oh, my God. But it just turns out that he had bypassed the filters, and somebody beamed him this picture. And when they did the forensics on it, like they sent it back to a lab, and this forensic computer guy, he can tell how long you looked at every photograph. And when he got to that one particular photograph, it opened and then closed right away. So he wasn't interested in that. His was normal busty women or whatever. But we ended up, it was serious stuff, but we ended up giving him NJP, and we busted him down and then promoted him not too long afterwards. So he wasn't hurting too bad because he was a good kid. He was just stupid, young.
That's the Marine Corps. That sums up the Marine Corps, man. You got a bunch of really good dudes. Especially like what it takes to actually go and sign up, and then go stand there on the yellow footprints, and we just do stupid shit. Like, we're just dummies. We do stupid shit. And that's why, like, the good conduct medal, right? Like, that's not, you don't get that because you're good. You get that because you never got caught.
Yeah.
What was it, your first 3 years? You went your first 3 years without getting caught.
3 years consecutive. 3 years consecutive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like with me, man, like some of the shit I did. And I, always managed to just, parry that shit. Right. Like, I mean, I was dead to rights on one thing. And I'm going to tell this story. I don't know exactly when. Fuck it. I'll tell it now, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
We had gotten out of the field. It was before Afghanistan. We had gotten out of the field. We were out there all week. And we were just ready to, let loose. We started drinking in the barracks. Filled up the shower with beer cans. Like, beer cans were flowing out into the rooms. And this is all allegedly, because I don't know, man. If like that was 20 years ago. I don't know what the statute of limitations on this shit is.
You're well past. You're going
right.
good.
Yeah, 20 years I think is good.
So anyway, we decided we want to go down to Wilmington. So we head down to Wilmington, had a great time, went to the clubs, ended up staying at a hotel down there. And I get a phone call from two of the kids that had like popped on coke. Like they were, like we had a lot, we had drugs going on. We had alcohol, like 3-6, really turned around. And that's why, we turned around and we were so good in 05 and 06. I was afraid to go 07 and be like, I hit the peak, man. I hit peak performance of Lima Company. Like, I don't want to stick around for anything else. And so I get a phone call. It's like super early in the morning. Like, hey, the OD found your guys' room and called the captain. Like, he's fucking, like, they're pissed. Like, there was broken beer bottles. There's probably like pizza on the ceiling. Like, it was a group of us that just like tore this room up. And so I'm like, fuck, all right, well, we got to go. We went back, and the whole drive back to Lejeune, I'm thinking. And our platoon commander came in Saturday morning and was like, what the fucking me, right? And I said, sir, I don't know what happened. Like, we were in Wilmington. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, how do you, like, your guys, it was your guys' room. And this is absolutely true. The room next to our room, the door wouldn't like stay locked. It would just like, it would kick open. It was, and we like for weeks we had put it on the room discrepancy list. And so I was like, he's like, well, how did people get in there? And I was like, well, sir, if you look at the room discrepancy list for like every week the last month, we put in that door doesn't stay locked. It has issues, so on and so forth. And he's like, okay. And I told him, I said, I've got receipts. Here's receipts from the hotel. Here's like an ATM receipt. Like, we had all of our stuff in order. Yeah. And when he pulled up on the parking lot side, that side of the barracks was India Company. And it's like 9-10 a.m. Saturday morning, and they're already out there getting wasted, right? And so he's like, is probably those fucks from India Company that are out there still getting drunk. And I'm like, you know what, sir, you're probably 100% right. Like, they're probably like, we're going to go trash this Lima Company room, just searching rooms. And our room got destroyed. And that was a big one, man. That was a big bullet dodged.
I'd be well, you guys weren't part of it, though.
What do you mean?
No, I mean, you were out of town, right?
Well, no, we did that to our own room.
Oh! I missed that, man. I thought, man, you're really mild for having your crap destroyed by a bunch of kids over from another company.
Well, the best part was the OD made the guys who popped on coke clean it. So we come back, the room's clean, like not a speck of dirt or dust or broken glass, pizza on the ceiling anywhere. So
immaculate.
It was immaculate. Yep.
It pays not to do coke.
That's right.
all you got to do is just not do coke, man.
That's it.
No wonder Marines are getting married to each other so they can get out of the barracks. Hey, we'll play Chuck and Ross. Hey, man, we'll get married and get out of the barracks.
Right. Yeah. Hey, man. You know what? God, dude, that would have been the loophole. We wouldn't have had to go to the commandant about BAH if we could have just got married to each other back then.
Hagee was famous for, don't ask me for a coin. Did they give you that brief?
So I think they probably just gave us the brief of like, guys, don't say anything fucking stupid. And we did. So like we couldn't even do that.
Hagee, and I'm going to dime him out. He would show up in Iraq on the 30th of the month and leave on the 1st. So he had 2 months of combat pay. He and the sergeant major, they did that. And we'd have to put on the dog and pony show for him and take him around to all the units. And we took him over to VMU, and the sergeant major made it clear, do not ask the commandant for a coin. So General Hagee's standing there, and he's talking to all these Marines at VMU too. And he goes, okay, Marines, any questions? Lance Corporal raises his hand. He goes, Lance Corporal? He goes, yes, sir. So I was wondering how I get a coin. How do I get a coin? Sergeant Major Hagee just literally doesn't say anything, turns on his heels and walks out of the thing. The CO is like, oh, and the CG is like, ah, and the Sergeant Major just beeline straight. What the fuck were you thinking asking the commandant of the Marine for a goddamn coin? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, I thought and what the kid heard was, hey, make sure you ask the commandant for a coin.
Wow.
Well, that poor kid,
man,
he got strung up for that.
Get lit up.
But you know what? Those VMU guys, they were fun. They had, when you walked in, I could drive across the airfield, so I came in the back door. I didn't have to go through all the headquarters side, and I would trade cigars for props or whatever. And one day I walk in the back door, and I hear tick tick tick, and I'm thinking, oh shit, troops in contact. I'm just walking in on the right time. And they had these big giant TVs up on the wall, like 6 of them. And one of them had a map of Iraq, so you could see the track of the UAVs, and you could see the microwave beams, avoid those areas, and all this stuff. And I'm looking at this TV, and it's doing circles, and I'm thinking to myself, that looks just like the south end of TQ. They had the big bunkers for the airplanes, hangars. And I'm thinking, that looks just like the parapet on top of that south bunker. And then I'm looking closer, and the UAVs is zooming in, and it's these 3 Army chicks, butt naked. They're laying on towels, and they're sunbathing, and they have their earbuds in, sunglasses on, butt naked. They zoom in on the girl's got a little Energizer bunny tattooed on her, and I hear the machine, and they're making all these colored photographs of these girls. And that's what I thought, I better announce myself. And I'm like, tick, huh? And they're Control Alt Delete. They're trying to get they can't get that thing off. And they had Lance Corporal Smuckatelli around the corner, making sure the XO and the OPSO, none of the brass was coming into the op center. And here I come in the back door, and they didn't have somebody watching the back door because they weren't expecting that. And the kid's like, well, sir, we call it telephoto incognito. I'm like, that's the south end of the base. And he goes, yes, sir. So these Army chicks, every day we discovered they like to sunbathe up there. And so we'll take a couple pictures, and we'll go over to their chow hall. And we know which ones they are. They're pretty good. I'm like, man, you know what? To be 18 years old and stuck over in Iraq, yeah, you know what? You'll have some fun. They do some stupid shit sometimes, but
oh yeah,
man.
Sir, you're not going to tell anybody about this, are you? And I'm like, nah. You want a picture? I'm like, no,
right,
no. I'm leaving. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go over and talk to maintenance, but your secret's safe with me. So they were always really cool about trying to get me props and stuff like that. How to win friends and influence people. Take care of your Marines.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah. Here, you guys want a cigar while you're beating off to some Army girl's Energizer Buddy tattoo? Oh man.
Yeah,
man.
Wild times, man. Wouldn't trade them for anything.
No. Great times. That's what I tell. It's I don't miss the circus, but I do miss the clowns.
Yeah.
And that's what sitting around with the guys makes it all worthwhile. So I thank you for allowing me as an officer, Todd, typical officer dude, to hang out with a couple of Ted, typical enlisted dudes, and rehash some old stories. And I really do appreciate that. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad that we did this.
Yeah.
And beyond the stories and doing those things and the camaraderie and everything, I think it's a very important takeaway. You had somebody back in 2020, encourage you to start the podcast, which you did with Scott. I had a guy, Morrissey, he was one of my NCOs in Afghanistan, messaged me out of the blue, hadn't talked to him in years, December 2023. You should start a podcast, or 22, which I did. You got Freddie Joe, you got Garcia, listening to their stories about, he's like, oh yeah, we're sitting around drunk. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to go try out for this role. Ha ha ha. And then the next morning, fuck, I got to go audition for this role. Like I got to, I was talking all that shit. Now I got to go do it. What he's done, started his company. And, another guy that jumped on here, I don't know if he's still watching, Hank, He's a Marine that I met. He does a podcast. He's with Combat FC now. Like he's on television. It just you have we're capable of so much, you know, and we went through so much. Um, you know, we went through so much with our training, our experiences, and I encourage like anybody out there, you know, like dude, like Freddie Joe said, man, like don't sit by and watch somebody climb a mountain that you can climb too.
Yeah,
And
it's great.
you know, so for all the guys, like whatever it is that you want to do, we're kind of shitty sometimes as Marines at knowing where to start. So, you know, I was talking to some guys last Friday and he's like, man, I've been watching what you do for the past couple of years. And I just never wanted to call you or reach out because I didn't want you to waste your time with a retard like me. And like, dude, it's not a waste of time. I'm like, we're all super approachable people, you know, like I'm going to talk to you about some things later, like at this, the StreamYard that you're doing. I
Yeah,
found a really cool editing thing that I was going to talk to you about how we
yeah,
can make our clips. It's super easy. I'm going to send you the video, but man, this is what it's all about. Like our brotherhood, our collaboration, you know, like fucking just, if you need something, if you want something, right? Like get it, go after it. Like you wanted to be a
yeah,
Marine, like you went, you did it. And, you know, we're all here for it, man. We're all here to be a part of that and just do the shit that we're doing, whether it's a hobby, whether it's serious. And it just, that's what's great about guys like you and everybody that I just mentioned, you know, doing things, doing like not just sitting at home and collecting a check or, you know, like just doing shit, man. Like do something what makes you happy. Like find what you're passionate about and start. And if you don't know how to start, reach out to somebody who has and ask them, how do I start? They'll tell you.
Well, it's funny, you know, like a Facebook Live had just come out in 4 years ago. Hard to believe. And I go, "Hey, this is great." And it was VJ day, and so I hit record, and I took the phone. I'm sitting on the counter at the kitchen, and I recorded talking to an Iwo Jima vet, and then Carmen Giese, who was a D-Day paratrooper guy, and we're sitting there talking on what life was like and whatever. And that's when somebody said you ought to do a podcast. Well, I have friends that have started podcasts, and they're making $800,000 a year off the podcast. And I'm
Yeah.
like happy. I'm happy for them. I'm lazy. I don't have the time. Like when I get off with you guys, I'm going to go put on some sweats, crap clothes, and go back out and finish the Hummer for July 4th. So I'll be out in 105-degree Iraq heat and finishing up my thing. But to me, this is my hobby. I did it solely that if I died, my daughters might hear some stories from the old man, hear my voice from the dead, and maybe learn something from back in the day. But if it helps anybody, I'm always willing to sit down with them and do stuff. I am not the guy though, the YouTube bastards, because right now they'll if I've got thousands, 2,700 people, and I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of hours, so I could monetize every single one of my shows. But then as soon as we get done with this, I'm going to get a copyright violation filed within about 15 minutes, and I've got to fight that, and I've got the license, so I win every time. But it's like, screw you guys, I hate YouTube. And and then the bots monitor, and if they hear us talking Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever, then they turn around and they'll say limited monetization back when I
Yep.
first started doing it. And then they still run ads. I'm like, well, screw you guys. So
Right.
I won't monetize anything. I make enough money as an airline pilot. I don't need it. This is my joy. My wife knows that as this hobby, to be able to go talk to people is the most fun I have on a Tuesday every week. That is
Yeah.
I love doing it. So I can't thank you guys enough for shooting the shit with me.
It was a blast, man. It was a blast. We'll do it
Yeah,
again
man.
soon.
Let's we say we're going to
Very,
do this
very
again,
fun.
but I'd like to bring you guys on, maybe every other week or every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, because we still got to hit Afghanistan. I went to Kabul in '08 on a joint tour, and that was amazing. But we've still got so many different things that we could hit up and bring some other people on as well.
There's a ton, and you know, I think one thing that we could maybe even shoot for, because we're both going to be going to Fredericksburg So maybe after Fredericksburg, we give a recap of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm down for sure. It was a blast. I enjoy it. And yeah, we'll have to get, appreciate the guys that like chime in the comments and stuff, man. We'll get some more interaction going, and it'll be a good time for sure.
Great show, guys. Thanks for the stories, man. Look at that, Ron C.
Yeah.
How quickly you pick up on COVID. Freddie Joe, of course, love Freddie Joe. So I showed you the Freddie Joe back behind me, and great show, assholes. Scotty, Scott Gibson. Oh, I tell you what, buddy, you saved yourself not jumping out of C-47, breaking your leg, but Freddie Joe and these guys are going to tear you up. They're going to have fun. Neil, who are you with? You were with 3-6 as well, right?
3-6. Yeah, 3-6 Lima Company. Yep.
Okay.
And that was 06 to 09.
All right. Doug Hanning, he's a Marine. Got it. Rose, you guys know Rose X?
No.
Oh, wow. No.
What's up, Devil Dog?
Yeah. Awesome time, man.
Taco. Yeah, so lunchtime, Roland, he was over in Budapest. Finally get back home from Germany. Proper internet. Looking forward to catching up with you on your show.
Oh,
That's
nice.
the thing I love, man. You got international. You get I hit YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and you get some great comments across the board from all the different platforms. But one day I'm going to be like you boys when I grow up. Can't do both, right? When I grow up, I'm going to be a pilot.
That's the downfall with Spotify, man. Is like, like maybe one day they'll do it, but like how great would it be for there to be comments under your podcast, like where people could just say things, and I can go and I can answer those questions. I mean, Jesus, it's 2024. How do you not have that as part of your app?
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
Well,
how can you not comment on my video? Or
I'm gonna
not video, but episode.
On the episode. I'm going to go back. I've got a couple days off vacation next week. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to start loading all these shows on Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
Hopefully Apple won't screw me. But hey, dudes, I've kept you guys for an hour and 37 minutes. I can't sit here any longer. I drank 2 bottles of water. I'm going to have to go hit the head, and then I had the water cool off.
Yeah. Dude, you got to have a piss bottle with you right now. Then you won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, you know what?
You got your piss. Yeah, I was about to say. Where's your piss
got a bottle
at?
over there. That's the break for emergency, But listen, Neil, I do have vacation in August, I believe, and my son wants to go somewhere. So what I may do is fly him over to Pensacola, and I'll get Bob and Linda. Her brother just passed. I'll call Bob and Linda up, make sure they're in town, and we'll get all together. And I want you to meet Bob and Linda Patterson, Medal of Honor recipient.
Yeah.
And do me a favor, get up.
Yep.
He'd be great. He'd be great on the show too. He's just a fantastic dude. Get up with Pete, who played Swede. I did the intro.
Yep.
With him. So he is just the most down-to-earth, nice guy. You'll love him. And then who else did I do an intro to?
Oh, yeah. I'm talking with Kelly. I think we're going to get
Kelly for Dawn. Yes. Yeah.
Week.
Please.
Yep.
Please hit up an interview with Dawn. Now, Dawn, he's kind of got his set thing. So think outside the box with Dawn. I know it's been so long. He probably can't remember, but there are things that I would love to ask him about the island and his experience.
If you think anything,
try to jog his memory. Yeah,
text it to us, whatever.
I will. He's a great guy. He'll sing for you. He'll tell stories. He's got all the same stories. They're good. But yeah, he'll tell some good stories from Iwo Jima. And those guys, have you all been to Iwo Jima? You're East Coast, so you probably haven't.
No.
Neil, have you been to Iwo?
Not yet.
How
about you, Neil?
No. That'd be that's one that would be very surreal.
Well, do me a favor. Text me your addresses. So I've got some sand from Iwo Jima, and I'll fire it over to you if you don't have any. So we get you a little sand from the beach.
Awesome.
Where's he got it? Oh, he's got some.
Taco.
Yeah. Oh, you've
Yeah,
already
man.
got it.
That was
So
actually, yeah. I don't know how clear it is, but
yeah,
yeah, that
it's
was
perfect.
that was actually given to me. That was given to me from one of my coworkers years ago when I was still at a station. He was a caisson Marine, and he got wounded, and on his route he had a World War II veteran, another Marine, and he was there on Iwo Jima and
Wow.
had some sand with him, and he gave it to Jimmy. And I was at work one day, and he's like, "Hey," he goes, "Hey, Jarhead," he goes, "I got something for you. Like, just I'll get it to you tomorrow." And that's what he comes back with. I was like, "What?"
Wow.
You know, hang on,
Wow.
what? So I'm
Yeah.
getting some sand from Iwo Jima from a caisson Marine, and I was like, what? Floored. You know, floored with it. I look at it every day I can't help but look at it. You know, while walking by, leaving the room. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. You know, it's both Iwo Jima and I brought I, I brought back some sand from Normandy from Omaha.
Jeez. Yeah.
Um,
Oh
and
Brought
wow.
back the whole damn beach, man.
yeah,
Jesus.
we call they call it Operation Sandman because the mayor, I guess, doesn't want you to take sand from the beach. Well, they sell these little glass vials at the gift shop
Yeah.
to scoop sand up. So screw you. So I
Right.
went and grabbed a bunch,
Yeah,
and now I'm giving it
that's
out.
not good enough.
Yeah, yeah, and I
That's not
get
enough. Yeah,
more.
let me get more than
I
that.
get 2 bags so I can give them out to my friends because I think about this. I just had a guy, uh, Dale Patrick, is a friend of mine, and he's gone through some hard times, health wise, and his dad. They both got hurt on the job, and I sent him some of that sand, and I'm like, man, I just always want you to look at the sand and remember that guys younger than us, 18 years old, what they went through on that beach, and if you know they made it through with the horror all around them, if that doesn't give you the uplifting spirit to push on, I don't know what will, because that
Yeah.
sand to me represents these 18-year-olds willing to die for the country and what they did to get through and get up on the beach and get out of the fire and all that. So that's why it's so important to me.
Absolutely.
Same deal for Ewo.
Yeah.
And especially for us because we're
Yeah.
Marines, right? So,
Oh yeah.
well, gents, I'm going to stop it now. I'll pull you off and say goodbye and hold on for 1 second. All right.
All
I
right.
appreciate it. All right. Hold on. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. It's coffee time, noon lunch with Tall Tales with Taco and Tales from the Core. So I believe I've got it in the link. Do me a favor, they're on Apple, Spotify, all over the place. Tales from the Core, and I've got a photo of what it looks like here. I meant to push this up earlier. Up, no, it did not load because I had too many overlays. So Tales from the Core, do me a favor, check them out and sign up for them. Give them a 5-star rating there on Apple. That'll help them out. They really are fantastic. As you sit there and listen to all of the different um, stories that all the guys talk about, it's amazing. So here we go. We've got Tales from the Core. I'm going to bring this up, show you what their podcast show looks like. There it is. And you guys can check it out. Michael Francis. Lighten up, Francis. I think that if you were a Marine aviator, your call sign would be lighten up. Anyway, you guys have a great day. Until I see you next week. Adios, hasta luego. Sa wiedersehen, tschüss, sheshini, au revoir. Domo arigato gozaimasu, tano shinde kudasai, ciao, arrivederci, tashikura, assalamu alaikum. Mahala, do widzenia, das vidania. You guys have a good one. See you now.